For the past half a year, they started off leaving IB for their study abroad, and then now they are doing their internship. And of course, knowing as we do that we have a pandemic going on, their almost year now doesn't look the same as a typical student's study abroad semester and internship semester would have looked. So I think it's important to have this conversation, to understand what your experiences have been, and really explore how you've overcome the many challenges that you've faced.
So hello to everyone who is watching us. I am Nina. I am 21 years old. I originally come from Georgia. We are fourth year students, both me and Wouter, doing IB. Currently, I'm doing my internship at Every Denison as a marketing communications intern. So I'm glad that we're having this call today. I hope it will help out fellow students and give them more motivation to continue studying online and don't lose the hope, even though we are living in all these terrible times now.
My name is Wouter, 23 years old, and I'm from the Netherlands. I'm doing my internship at Paardenkoper Group, which is a distributor of packaging materials. I kind of have two different positions. One of my positions is assisting the sales team. And my second position is I am kind of writing the strategical plans based on the new sustainability stuff they are implementing.
Maybe we'll start a little bit before all of this internship business, right? So could you take us through how it was? Because you had this ideal first 2 years at IB. Everything was as it should be. You had normal student problems. What was it like when you were both in your destinations? And what were some of the challenges you faced as the first lockdowns happened?
I think even now, if we ask many IB students, their ideal part of studying IB is going on exchange and having internship. So having this experience not as expected from the first year and having completely different experience with many downs was not the best thing we could ask for. But at the same time, we got, I would say I got a way more experience from it, as well as mentally, personally for myself. I think I grew because I have went through many things alone in South Korea. So from the beginning, we didn't think that it was a big thing, because by that time when I flew to South Korea, people were still saying that it was Asian virus. It was not a common thing at all. So we still had a hope that it would stop and end at some point. But then realizing that we have to live in this was the worst part. At some point, we went through it. In the beginning, it was hard. Then we just got used to online living. I would say I'm feeling pretty comfortable right now having this interview, but I wouldn't feel like this in the beginning. So this is how I'm feeling now compared to how I was feeling by then.
It felt almost impossible in that first, 4 to 6 months that you had to shift perspective, and now it's a new normal for you.
Exactly. It felt so hard to listen to the first few lectures, concentrate, because I was constantly looking at my bed, or I was listening to it on my bed, and that was not my normal. But now it feels normal. It feels like everyday life. And I'm even thinking even if I would have to go physically somewhere, it would feel less normal now for me that I have to adapt to that, because this is normal to me now.
Nina, did you finish your study abroad while you were in South Korea? You actually left?
No, I left from South Korea
exactly
in a month.
But then you finished your study abroad courses from the university in South Korea.
Yes. So I went back to Georgia in a month and I continued online studying, but officially I finished my study in South Korea while being in Georgia. So I got my credits from South Korea and they were approved by our university, but physically I was in Georgia.
Well, it was a little bit weird because at the point that we were leaving the Netherlands, South America wasn't known as an area which had a lot of coronavirus cases. So we were thinking that we may be able to kind of survive this semester while being in Peru. First of all, we traveled for 1 month through Colombia, which was so nice. And after that month, we left to Peru. It was pretty intense. We actually got 1 week of fun with the other students, with the other exchange students. And then after that first week, they introduced the full lockdown in Peru. And then at some point, the Peruvian government told us if we still want to leave, we had to leave at that point. Otherwise, we couldn't go back until August. So we decided to leave Peru and went back to the Netherlands, which was kind of a good decision. It kind of broke my heart at that point, but it was fine after a while. The online classes were kind of tough, more like because of the time difference. The teachers were very, very kind to us, and they kind of accepted the situation that we were put in.
I think the main thing that we discussed this whole thing was happening, was of course what this meant for your dreams and aspirations at that time. It was a big letdown, of course. As Nina said, this was something that students coming to IB really look forward to, going abroad and having the semester abroad. It's such a unique experience. And I think that definitely has an impact, but also it has a lot that it's going to give you, or it is already giving you, which maybe my generation didn't get when we were younger. The flexibility that you showcase now because of all the things that you have to adapt to when you're so young. So in that way, I think we can find some comfort that there is a bright spot there as well. And then, of course, the next step is internship. For those who are listening, 4-year program students, which is who I'm talking to now, 3rd year, first semester, they are still in the country. They're still doing lessons on campus. And then after the winter break, that's when they leave. So they go for study abroad, and then after study abroad, they go straight to internship. So there's basically a year when the 4-year program students are not on campus anymore. How easy was it to find internships? Because I know that everybody, all the industry got affected by the pandemic as well. How was it for you when internships came around? How did you go about finding one?
I remember that the first announcement that was made on the blackboard that we could actually start looking for internships, and the earlier we would do it, it would be better. I remember that from that point on, I started looking for, at first to find out ways how to look for it at least, and then already got into the game to actually find one. I think I started in around like at the end of May, June, so very early. I would also advise everyone who is watching now to start as early as possible, because it is just a well-known fact that big companies and corporations are starting hiring as soon as possible as they have the chance. Start as soon as possible, and it's way less stress because I already had my internship by the beginning of July. I already had my contract, so I felt that I was safe. And especially for international students, we have to find a place where to stay. We need to find accommodation or not. So I already had a lot of time to deal with these other problems coming up. So I would advise everyone to do the same. In terms of numbers, I sent my application around in 20 companies. I used just LinkedIn and only LinkedIn, nothing else. I had some interviews, and in the end, I just chose the company I preferred. I got some approvals, and then I chose the company that I liked the most. So I think being on time is the first thing that students can do, and also work on personalizing their even CVs, because what I did is that I was even putting the logos of the companies on the CV, so they know that it's even this CV is made for them and not just motivational letter. So I was not changing just the company name, but I was changing the logo on the motivational letter and making it just all about them and the role and the company. So I think that helped me a lot, and I would advise everyone else to do the same.
Many students went through different things at that point, at that juncture where this decision needed to be made, because before it was just a simple, first there's study abroad, then there was internship. Now it was study abroad didn't go as planned. But now at the beginning, a lot of companies, at least to people who were looking from afar, it looked like no one was taking interns in. Of course, there was a brief moment when companies basically paused everything that was not for them core business, because even they were not sure how to move forward. And it took them a few months to find their footing and then go, oh, wait, actually, one big revelation was qualified interns were younger, were quick studies, you adapted very quickly to remote working, you were very easy to work into processes. So very soon after that initial hesitation, internships started to open again and companies started to engage interns again.
Well, first of all, I love your game plan, Nina. I didn't have a game plan at all, because I wanted to take a gap year. I was quite stubborn when I was in Peru. I decided to take a gap semester or maybe even a gap year. I didn't really know what to do like in the upcoming year because of the pandemic. I was really upset because I had to leave Peru. Therefore, I didn't want the pandemic to ruin my internship experience as well. For my reason that I decided to kind of quit with the search. Yeah, at some point the cases were like rising extremely, so I kind of knew that the situation was getting out of control. I started around August or September, which is like way too late because some people were even already started with the internship, and I couldn't find any company at all. I used my references, I used LinkedIn and stuff. At the very last moment, I got an internship via a reference of me. They really asked me what I wanted to do. So, and therefore, I was pretty much convinced to do the internship at their company. Because if I wasn't convinced, I would take the gap year anyways. Because I feel like that you already need to justify the reason why you picked this kind of internship. And I feel that I can justify why I decided to do my internship at that company, and therefore I took it.
You both very clearly have direction, and there's very clear drivers that motivate you to perform well at school, but also there is a life plan that you definitely have. Not that every student needs to walk into the building with a life plan, but there should be intrinsic motivation to do the challenging things, to do the difficult things, and to ask the difficult questions, and make decisions. Right? Growing up is all about figuring out constantly what you want and why you want it, and in that way you both have constantly proven that this is your process as well. So for Nina, I don't think it was an easier decision, but it was a faster decision because you knew that, yeah, this is it, let's just get on with the program. And for Wouter, as you rightly say, and it was a very valid question that you were asking yourself, why should I keep going? What's the point? What's the point of this? Was a big deal for you. And that's valid as well.
Yeah, so it was more like what does life actually mean to you? I was like asking myself those questions. It might be a little bit weird, but like
So it's an applied sciences education. So of course, there's a lot of weight placed on experience, and the experience of study abroad, and the experience of being and working in a company, trying everything out. When you say, well, remote working is a major possibility, or you won't have all of the collaboration and the real life sort of like feeling of working in a company, it is a put down, as it were. But despite it all, I think you're learning. You're still continuing to discover more things about yourself and what you want to do, but also experience work life. What do you think is valuable as you do your internship? What are some of the things that students can look forward to in an internship like the ones that you're doing now?
I guess it's kind of important to really talk things through with your coordinator from the company, and really you should decide on some kind of direction, because otherwise the whole internship experience will not go as planned, or at least not as you want it to be. I discussed a lot, so I actually told them like, I don't want to work from home. If I cannot work at your office, I won't. I won't be taking the internship. And at some point, they were like, "All right, you can just work at the company if you want." I learned how to adapt, because like right now, like last week, my boss actually asked me like, "Can you actually work from home?" I was like, "Yeah, I can kind of work from home for 2 days." So this is like kind of my first week from home, which is weird, but it's okay actually. I'm working with my roommates. It's a little bit less productive than as it should be, but yeah, it is my decision.
So therefore, your advice or your experience has been to ask a lot of questions, to really know what you're getting into,
Yeah.
and to also know what conditions are best for you.
I would say at first, what I would advise is that don't feel like in the beginning, don't feel like you have to know everything from the first day or from the first week. It's okay to not understand. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to don't feel like you know everything, because there are many companies for which it takes months to know about the product or the industries they are in. So it's completely okay to not know everything from the beginning, because for me the hardest part of my internship was the beginning, the onboarding part, when I was getting know to the company. After that, it goes really easily once you know the product, the company. So I would also advise students to ask questions, ask for the feedback, and ask, how am I performing? Do you want me to improve in this field, or what do you not like about me, or what do you like about me, so I should keep doing that. Also, what I would say is that other than that, internship feels amazing. It feels like you're independent person, independent from everyone else, because still when you're in the university, you're still dependent on lecturers and everyone else who is giving you tasks or homeworks. But here you just feel like you are only for yourself, and you need to give input to the company, to the third party. So that feels amazing. And we are also getting emails, Wouter would know, we are getting emails from lecturers for IP8 that we should really not think about our internships anymore. We should still remember that we are students and we are not just employees, and put as much effort in studies as we did before, and not forget about that. But it's really hard to not forget, because now we already feel like we're employees, and now that you need to go still in the student shoes. I was writing one report for internship. It felt so unnatural for me to write a report for university, and I was like, oh my god, it's actually boring to do this. I don't want to do this anymore.
It's good that you mentioned that as well, because every year without fail, what we see is that when students come back from internships and you start your fourth year last semester, you have there's a little bit of classes. There was 6 weeks when you have to do a refresher before you start writing your thesis. It's the most difficult thing students do at IB, is to switch back into student mode after having been in professional life for such a long time. You value your time a lot more, and you're so keen on being more efficient. So the way you engage with your lecturers change, the way you look at your own time changes.
You shouldn't take the easy way out, because after 10 weeks you have the talk with the school and your company. So at that exact day, my boss came to me like, oh yeah, I kind of love the way how you work at our company and stuff, so you may as well start working at our company. Well, it was kind of a job that it was okay, but it isn't like my true passion. So I already told them like I have to think about it, but it probably be a no. So at some point, I told him like I'm not gonna take the offer, because it's like it's not my thing. So that's one thing which students should really remember. Like we are still young, we will get lots of opportunities. So don't take the easy way out.
A lot of our students, like 70% of our students, they find their internship, they love it, and then they want to do the thesis for that company, and they proceed to do a thesis. So by the time they graduate, they've been with that company in some capacity for almost a year, and it's only at that year mark after they graduate they decide whether they want to continue doing another year with the company, or they want to do something else. But the other 30% that either goes on to higher education or decides, well, I tried this, but this isn't where I want to be. That's also very, very important to notice. They're not doing something wrong. What they're doing is also equally valid, in that they're recognizing what their true passions are and what their true interests are, or at least what is not their area that they want to work in. And that's also very, very important. You went on to internship, but the program, the curriculum that you followed, all the modules that you did from year 1 to year 3 before, and then of course during all the experience that you managed to get during study abroad, how does it serve you during your internship?
Well, For me, I am doing right now marketing internship, even though my minor was supply chain and operations management. But I think what's the best about our study, and we all mention that all the time, is that it's really broad and you just don't learn about your minor, but many other courses that we take. I could just easily take marketing internship and know all the terms they were talking about, just follow the conversation easily. So that's just like, I'm really grateful to our program for that I could listen in many general calls that we were having with 100 colleagues, and they were discussing financial stability of the company, and I could also follow there because we had finance as a course, and just being able to understand your company from different sides just because you covered those courses during the study is really important, and I'm really grateful to our program for that.
Yeah, so I followed a minor in like sustainability. It kind of ended as being a entrepreneurial type of minor based upon sustainability terms. So I learned really a lot. I felt that was kind of my passion to work into sustainability. I knew that I wanted an internship which was based upon doing something related to sustainability. My company, I am doing two different things. First of all, I'm doing a lot of projects, and on the second hand, I'm working at the sales team. I actually have three different projects. Doing some kind of project to measure the impact of like the company in total, and of the biggest products of the company in total. I'm also writing policy papers, and last but not least, I'm also writing some kind of plan with the international sales team. So those were kind of the projects that I was putting, and like the courses were helping me, but I felt that I still had to learn a lot. Like I felt it's pretty hard to get all things they were actually saying. The school is telling you like the theory, but every company is using the theory at a different perspective. So that was one main thing for me, but at the end it turned out to be quite helpful.
Did you feel like you were a student for a long time during the internship, or you felt like you could get comfortable becoming a professional in the internship as well because you had all this exposure in the program? Did that help to transition into professional world?
I think that first of all, it was kind of hard to get into that transition due to the pandemic, and companies weren't adapting that fast as well. So I kind of felt like a student at the beginning. Well, I actually have a lot of work experience already. If you gotta know something, you have to call someone who actually doesn't know you. At the beginning, I felt that people were less likely to help you if they didn't know you at all. At some point, like I wouldn't say that everyone knows me, but like a lot of people actually know me, and therefore they are more likely to help me out, which is kind of a good thing. So I kind of feel like a true valued employee over there. So that's good.
I would say, just like you mentioned, with all the skills that we gathered during integrated projects that we had and all the communication with diverse student family, I think I felt pretty comfortable with fitting in because it didn't feel any different for me than what it felt in the university. It was just that I moved in different age group and the topics changed, and when we have a break, what we were talking in university and what we talk here, we talk about, not me, but like you hear people talking about stocks and things like that. And then you don't talk about that in university world in general. So these things changed, but I would say the basics stayed the same, the relationships and just the skills that are necessary. I think IB is giving it all, and you are entering ready to be in professional life with all the skills that you have with our program.
For the first year, second years, third years who are looking forward to study abroad and internship, what can you tell them from where you are that could be encouraging for them to hear?
I would say to don't panic, because that's the first thing, like that's what you're doing initially when you're thinking that oh, I have to find an internship, or shall I go on my exchange, or so many things are happening around, maybe I should take a gap year to stay safe, or there are many things crossing your mind in that moment. But I think what's the best is to take your time and think and analyze every scenarios that can happen and which one of them can have the best outcome for you that you want to be in. I would say that there are no wrong decisions if you felt like that in that moment, maybe just because for your mental health. it makes sense just for your mental health. But I would say take your time, think about it, analyze. If you think that it's time to start your internships, try to do it on time, and just have daily plans, daily goals. Don't have monthly, because when you say that, okay, I need to send this application to 3 companies today, and you do that for a week, then you have 21 in a week. That's more than enough for the start. So I would say just do that. Don't panic. Breathe. I don't know, look some motivational videos. Talk to us, email us, connect with us, and we'll also, I'm ready to help out other students. We are all in this together, so you're not alone, that's for sure.
Yeah, first of all, be positive. I want to add something to your like kind of summary, I must say. First of all, it isn't really bad to take a gap year, but like you really have to think things through. And like if you are like pretty confident of taking a gap year, just do it. No one will really care if it's really your decision, because why do you need the opinion of others? Well, at that time, I was a third year IB student. So, as being a third year IB student, I can make those kind of decisions just by myself. So, you really have to think things through. Maybe even start writing some kind of a life plan. Because those kind of life plans will eventually help you out making those kind of decisions.
And maybe one thing to add to what you both said, and I think it's true for both of you as well, when all of this was happening and when you had to make some of these very hard decisions, one very grown up thing that both of you have done in your own ways is to reach out. You not only had to think this through by yourself, you were not alone in this, but you did utilize your communities as sounding boards, whether they were your family or I've both spoken to both of you individually as your mentor as well, and I'm pretty sure you were speaking to your classmates, your friends, and understanding from each other and from the people around you as well what's motivating them to do what they are doing. So when you needed inspiration or when you needed someone to just sound your ideas out, that is also something that is encouraged, because you can't be expected to know everything all the time. What lessons or what positives are you taking forward into 2021?
I have a quick answer for this, because I have been actually thinking that this is the biggest thing I learned, to not have expectations. Because what happened to me and what brought me down in doing my exchange was that I had a lot of expectations. Like I had everything, like not just pre-planned. I was in this imaginary world that this would happen like this, and I was going there and I was doing that. And then when none of this happened, I had just like a part of my life that was already in my mind. It was just erased and gone. And it really, that's when it hurts a lot. And then that's when it brought you down. But when you don't have any expectations and you are just living for now as it is, and then think like, okay, if this happens, it's good, but I don't have expectation that it will happen. And when it happens, you will actually have a bigger amount of happiness that it happened. Since then, I'm always telling to myself about anything, about student life, work life, just don't have any expectations and just let it flow, and whatever happens, you will have more happiness coming from it, as you didn't have any expectations. So yeah, that's my life advice.
The one thing that you can always be confident about is the work that you put into yourself. All the time that you invest in your knowledge, your education, your well-being, that's the only thing that you can control. Then that's already something that you can rely on. And then the rest are all external, so you can't control what is happening outside of you.
Well, obviously, don't have expectations, first of all. You kind of have to be like a little bit like a free spirit or something. It doesn't really matter if your life plan kind of stops, or that like a pandemic ruins your whole internship semester, because like things will be okay like at the end. What I kind of learned is that this pandemic was pretty intense, but like don't be like selfish, because a lot of people like, oh yeah, I cannot go to the store or those kind of stuff. But like, why do we have to be selfish at all? Like, if we are taking a little bit extra care about the ones that we actually love, then they will be safe as well.
What I notice is that in this past year, through your own very unique individual processes, your own experiences, because When we started this pandemic, each and every one of you were in different corners of the world, literally. One thing that I'm noticing is that, yeah, the first 6 months were a struggle, but now you've all, in one way or the other, found out what's priorities in your life, what's important, and what's the purpose. That's also been something that all of you started with, and you started with this intrinsic drive, this motivation, going, this is why I'm here. I'm not here for anybody else. And that's what's sustaining you in what you're doing now. So I'm really, really happy to see that in your own ways you are pushing forward, and you're not just allowing the pandemic to happen, but you're growing because of it as well.